on, guys? Want to make a quick video because weather's been kind of shitty. Like we've had, like last weekend, we got freezing rain and iced over roads, and then just yesterday it started snowing, and we got a little bit of ice, but it was mostly snow. So haven't really got to ride the SM much. I took it around one day, just around the block, pretty much just because I was really itching to ride, but it wasn't even enough to really record. But I want to do a quick walk around on the SM, since I've done one on my SV, which you guys know I still have that bike. I just never freaking ride it. Actually, my roommate's the one who's been riding it around, so if you see it in videos, that's why I let him ride it around. I'd rather it be ridden some than sit. So yeah, you guys know about the SV. I still have it. I've got some plans for it. I originally was going to sell it for something else, but I still want a road bike besides the SM. So I'm going to go ahead and fix it up and do something with that, and I'll post videos on that. And that is my buddy's bike. He had that stunted F4i. In a few of my videos he traded it for that. It's an FC6. He keeps it here because he doesn't have a garage. But back to the SM610. So here's what happened with this bike. Okay, so I had the Z1000 I bought off my buddy that had the back clutch, and I put work into that bike. I replaced the clutch, put fork seals in it, did some minor things to it. I had fun on it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun road bike, but the thing is, if I was going to have dual bikes, I wanted to have a road bike and a supermoto. And honestly, I was going to sell that for a supermoto and keep the Z, but it ended up working in reverse because just the amount of things that I need to address on that bike. It runs mechanically, but just cosmetically it's pretty shitty, and I wouldn't have got much out of it. And the opportunity to sell the Z came around because there was a guy looking for a Z. So I was like, well, I'd rather just get rid of the Z for now because I really want a supermoto, because I found a really good deal on this bike. And the reason I found such a good deal was because this is a salvage bike. And for any street bike, I wouldn't buy a salvage bike. But for a supermoto, I mean, these things are meant to jump, you know, be slammed into the dirt, everything. And of course I inspected it well, picked it up, made sure it was running fine mechanically, looked at the frame for damage, and it's completely fine. So I paid like $2,500 for it, and then I had to pay for the rebuild title and everything. Like, I got a salvage title with it, but I had to go get it inspected and saying it was road legal again. So that's how I got such a good deal on it. And if you can find a similar deal, I'd go for it. But that's how I got it so cheap, and it's for what I paid. Hell, I would have paid at least an extra grand for it. In the way it's been, I've had no mechanical issues with it, other than like valve adjustments, which you're gonna have to do on a thumper anyways. But it's running completely fun and smooth. Since I'm not the first owner, and the guy I bought it from is not the first owner, I don't really know much of what's on it. I mean, I can tell you a few things that I can spot right off. Like, I know it's got a twin air filter. So I pulled the box, looked at that. It's got a Mikuni, I think it's a Mikuni flat slide carb. I don't know if they come stock with that flat slide, but I tried to figure out, and I can't really see any good information on it. So I know it's got a flat slide. I don't know if that's OEM or not, though. It's got aftermarket bars. These are what, I think they're Easton or something like that. It has a logo on them. Yeah, Easton. EXP bars. Grips are aftermarket, which I hate these fucking grips because I'm getting calluses on my hands from them, even with the gloves on, this ribbing. So I'm probably going to replace those soon. Let's see what else. I replaced this clutch lever. I have the OEM one. I went to Cycle Gear and they had like a universal clutch lever. That was a shorty one. And it's a little stiff, so I think what I'm going to do is interchange these if I have enough slack on the clutch cable. I'm going to move this closer into the bar, and that should cause it to be a little less hard to pull in. But it's just a universal one from Cycle Gear. I don't remember the brand, but it fit right on. The clutch line, everything went straight in. I didn't have to mod anything. But it gives me that shorter clutch lever. Brake lever still OEM. I put this on here pretty much just for inspection purposes. The mirror is actually off the SV. It's one of the bar ends. And that was just so it passed the inspection, but it doesn't actually function. I can't see anything behind me. Sure, if I like moved it, I could get it to work, but I don't really care. I always check behind me anyways. It has a, I don't know how you say this, I always thought it was Leo Vince, but I think it's like Leo Vinci or something like that. It's a Leo Vinci X3 slip-on. It's not a full system, but I was reading on the forums and they were saying on the SM and TEs, the exhaust headers are plenty big enough that you don't really have to worry about that unless you're doing like a big bore kit and shit later on down the line. Stock rear sprocket, or front and rear sprockets, they haven't been changed. The chain's even OEM still from the factory. I mean, it's a low mileage bike. I stripped a lot of stuff off. I did like my own ghetto undertail kit. It had the big duckbill shit, and I took that off and just put the tail light. I stripped all the signals off. Running Shinko, I think these are 006s on the rear, which I'm fine with that for a supermoto. That's actually the same tire I have on the SV, and they grip pretty well. That's probably the only Shinko I've liked. Front tire is a Diog. Or no, it's a Pirelli. Actually, I think that's the tire that was on my Z1000. A set of Pirellis. So, mixed match tires, I don't care. It's a supermoto. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know. I mean, I know the emissions plumbing has been removed because I looked online about that, and a lot of guys were saying to remove it, so I went to remove it, and it was already done for me. There's just some hoses that run from the carb and shit, and there's a vent line that runs through the frame. It runs from the top of the crankcase to the frame and back down into the crankcase. That's actually still there. I'm going to remove that, but the major emission stuff has been removed. There's a bunch of like lines that flow from the carb and shit that are connected. They've been disconnected, so I don't know. All in all, I'm really happy with it. It's a fun as hell bike. Now that I'm getting more used to it, it's also kind of sad because I realized how far off I was on my wheelies on my street bikes. And like that Z was just a lot to handle, for me at least, since I was still new to trying to learn to control the bike. If I got back on it now, I'd probably be able to hold wheelies a lot better. But this taught me so much about what I was doing wrong in wheelies just from having this, because it's such an easier bike to do everything like that on. But yeah, that's the SM610. That's the mods I know of that are on it. I mean, oh yeah, and this headlight I actually had on the SV for a while, but it's just like an eBay LED one because I have I don't know if it's in here. There's the stock shroud that came on it, but it didn't have a light on it, and I went and looked for replacement lights to put in it, and I really didn't find much. So I just said screw it and put that one on. I don't mind the way it looks. I'll probably just leave it that way. But yeah, headlights, just Google like LED eBay headlight, and it's this one. It's got low and high beam bulbs in there, or like 2 different LED sets, I mean. But yep. Oh yeah, and we're gonna be at Cycle Gear this Saturday. We're gonna meet up for a Cars and Coffee ride with Jake and White Spy, Tori, which is Subimoto, a bunch of other supermoto guys and street bike guys. Everyone's welcome to come, so if you guys want to come ride with us, we're gonna meet up at Cycle Gear at 8:30 a.m. Come check it out.